Same with the next one we'll talk about, at least so far, and that's Wild Hearts. Both these games, there was early access available, depending on if you bought a special edition, or in this case, if you subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate, you get 10 hours access to it, or if you are an EA Play Plus Super whatever subscriber, whatever this is.
EA Play Pro.
There's a pro that's like all the games are free.
There's too many
Pro
tiers.
plus Ultra plus
Yes, exactly.
Max.
I actually did that. I didn't buy the game. I just did the EA Play Pro.
But even if you I appreciate Jeff reminding me of this. Even if you just have Game Pass Ultimate, and you've got EA Play access, you get 10 hours. That's how I got to play a little chunk of time with like Need for Speed Unbound. That's how I got a little bit of time with this game. And so I like being able to, it's almost like a demo, honestly, like a lengthy demo.
It's like the perfect amount of time, because usually by hour 8, I'm like, do I want to keep doing this or not?
Yeah. And if you do, then buy the game or subscribe to their service.
But with this
Derek, you played this game the most. I'll throw it to you. I only played a very little bit, but go ahead.
Me too.
Well, only thing I was going to say on, just so people know, yes, you get 10 hours, but you get blocked off after the third boss. So all you can do, or beast, I should say. So all you can do is just keep redoing those same.
So it really is like a demo. It's a demo.
Yes.
So there's a hard
yes,
gate.
you get 10 hours, but you're blocked. It's not like you can just play 10 hours of the complete.
That's actually pretty smart.
It was very. Because they give you enough content that you can decide, nah, I don't really like this, I'm not going to buy it, or yeah, I really like this, it's worth exploring.
I'll either subscribe or I'm going to buy this thing. But so you subscribed, you've been playing it for a little while. I know you like it a lot. This also, same as with Like a Dragon Ishin, it's gotten kind of that 80s-ish range of reviews. So basically, to me, that tells me like if you like this genre and if this game clicks with you, you're going to really enjoy it. It doesn't mean it's going to be for everyone, but yeah, what do you think?
I played it before the reviews came out, and I knew I liked it, but I didn't expect reviewers to like it.
Why is
not
that?
as much. I don't know. When I was playing, I was like, I don't know if reviewers are going to have as much fun with this, because I feel like they were just going to call it a Monster Hunter ripoff that didn't do it as well. And some of them, of course, bring up, I shouldn't say some, all reviewers do bring up Monster Hunter, because clearly it's not even kind of inspired. It's literally taking from Monster Hunter.
Same thing.
But it's the younger brother who dresses like the older brother and talks like him. And
sure.
Yeah. But his playlist is a little bit different.
Yes, this one has different tricks that I personally love.
Oh, for sure.
A couple of things that I think separate it from Monster Hunter. One of the biggest ones is when you start Monster Hunter, most of the time you're brought into, like, you have your opening area where you do a little thing, and then you go into a town and you get overwhelmed with a gazillion things that absolutely turn me off, because I'm like, not just for the over talking. We already know I hate over talking. But I don't like when you tell me, it's like if you start a new job and they're like, we're going to train you on everything day one, instead of like kind of piecing it together.
And can I interject there too, Derek? They're not just telling you about everything. They're not pausing to give you a chance to try that thing. Like that's what as you're trying to, like, okay, let me remember, I got to hold this button and hit that button to activate this thing. But then they tell you 10 more things and you're like, there was a way to like heal myself. I forget what the buttons were because that was a long time ago, and they've introduced all these new concepts to me. That's part of the obtuseness of Monster Hunter. I don't think the gameplay is all that obtuse. You hit a button to swing a sword and there's combos, but it's what you're saying. Introduction to that world is overwhelming.
It could be overwhelming. I mean,
at least the older games. The newer games are better, but yeah.
Newer games are better, but even Rise had that. Like when you go into the town area or whatever, I was like, they were telling me to go to like 50 different people. I'm like, guys, just let me go back to the battlefield. So I feel like this game does a little bit better job of that, because you literally just go, you do your intro area, which kind of teaches you the basics, and then you go to a camp and it gives you assignments, and then you're in the middle of doing this assignment. Like one of them is like, hey, help this girl who's injured. And when you go to help her, this beast just comes in and kind of like tries to attack you guys, and you end up chasing the beast, and that's your first monster fight, like your first legit one. And so that kind of gets you already in the world. You've only learned a couple of things, and now you're just out there fighting, and then they start showing you and telling you stuff as you're fighting. So it's kind of a tutorial, but it's not as easy as a tutorial, because the beast is actually kind of difficult solo to bring down by yourself. So I feel like it does a better job of, to me, bringing players in, especially if you're new to the franchise. they also start you with the easiest weapon. So you start with the katana, which is easily the highlight for me of this game, because compared to Monster Hunter weapons, this one feels the most like arcadey. Like there's it does it in this game too, but there's like like this subtle delay in Monster Hunter games. What I mean by that is, like, even if you're locked onto a beast and you go into a combo and the beast moves, which they do a lot, you're still stuck in your combo. There's no like, hey, you can
cancel.
Stop. Yeah. So this game has that too, but because of how quick your attacks are, you don't feel like you're stuck like fighting over here while the beast is over there for like 30 minutes because you're like, can I stop? Can you please stop?
There's been so many times that I've done my big like hammer like vertical whirlwind right as they move, and I'm doing it in the air to nothing. I slam the ground, there's nothing there.
And that still happens here, where I'll go into like a longer winded combo, and I'm like, I've got them all set up. I've got my power meter up. I'm gonna go in on him. And he freaking rolls out of the way, and I'm like over here going like this, you know. But
fight in the air, there, guy.
Yeah. But overall, I just feel like it's a little bit more approachable. It's a little more arcadey, and then there are some systems that are built into it that I actually just think, in general, make it more fun. So you have these abilities to create in the beginning, just kind of stack boxes. Now they help you to climb, but actually in the boss fights you can actually jump off of them, which then leads to a more powerful ranged attack. So you kind of like, it's kind of cool because when I'm using the katana sword, you like lean back like you're doing some anime power move, and then you dive down into them.
The aerial attacks look awesome.
They do look cool.
At least the that I've seen already.
Yeah, and then you start to slowly, as you level up and as you play the game more, you start to unlock more abilities. And it's cool because the game will, like, I was fighting a boss and it put up all these things to do, and I was like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to create boxes. But it's actually teaching me something new. Like, one of them was you create a wall. It's almost like a great wall. And it just tells you right away to do it, and that unlocks it. And you just have to be able to create 6 crates or 6 boxes, and it'll automatically turn into this wall. Well, what's the benefit of the wall? The beasts can eventually break the wall, but it takes a couple of powerful attacks for them to break it. So that wall gives you protection if you want to heal, or you can also jump off that wall, which again leads to power attacks. So
I just mentioned too, like the speed at which you can build and then quickly climb and jump off of them. Like you said, arcadey. It feels
fast.
Good.
It almost kind of sounds like Fortnite, but like obviously that's with
there's a little element
but the
of that.
building mechanics is extremely quick, like Fortnite.
There is a little element of that for sure.
You just drop something down and
you just drop.
They clearly went Monster Hunter, Fortnite. Yeah, okay, we got a thing.
It's not a bad thing to combine with this, like, again, like getting towers for elevated attacks and, you know, other use of traps. I mean, that was the thing in the trailers that kind of, I was like, oh, that's their hook. You know, it's Monster Hunter and then this hook.
They don't make it unlimited building. I wanted to mention this too. You actually have a resource that I'm assuming, Derek, you can upgrade that over time. But like you start with the ability to like log 12 of these spirits or whatever, these wisps, whatever they are. And you get them by collecting them from specific rock piles or like rock collections or like trees. You can kind of like siphon them out of things in the environment and get them back. But then once you build something, you use those. And so it gives you some limits. That way you're not just building, 100 box tall walls necessarily.
Yeah, you're blocked off from like cheesing it. Like
it's another meter to keep track of, but they do it in a way that makes sense. Like it's a very obvious
balance it.
Like every time you level up, you basically unlock the ability to, at least so far in the game where when I'm leveling up, it'll always level up your. So let's say I picked a level up my attack, it'll also level up my ability to create boxes from 13 to 14, from 14 to 15. So it always levels it up by 1 so far. So that's a nice thing. There's a lot to the game that is a lot like Monster Hunter. So you are farming material from these monsters. Some of them you need to chop things off their head, some their tail, some their mid body. That's the other thing. You can actually. This reminds me of Dragon's Dogma. You can actually cling to the monsters and then crawl to like certain
That's cool.
vulnerable areas, and then basically stick
Shadow of
your
the
hand
Colossus a little bit too.
I like that. Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
cool. I'm not overhyping this game. There's a lot of great games out right now. There's a lot. Like Harry Potter. Hogwarts is legit one of the best games to come out this year. But as far as fun factor, just like diving in, like turn your brain off and just have fun with a bunch of other like Japanese people, which again, this game's just like Monster Hunter where
that's how I played those, yeah.
When you play co-op and you get those little Japanese signals, you're like, golden,
I know
freaking need to do anything. White boys just sitting back. I ain't gonna do
anything. Just sitting back building boxes while they kill everything.
Much. I don't do
They're using the smallest weapon.
Kyle, you're saying you actually like watch how they play and you get better at it.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. Again, it doesn't sink in that match, but like I'll be like, I didn't know you could do that,
Yeah.
I've learned some stuff where I'm like, oh, they must have taught that to me.
But if you get Bong Hitter 69 to come on, like you're gonna have a bad game. You're like, oh, this
the character model's like stumbling, they're like high and drunk or something.
We're never gonna get through this.
There are definitely some clue words like Bong. The number 69. There's a few of them, like mother or mom or mama. Like, watch out for all.
20. Yeah, mother.
To me, these games are like, and this one even more than Monster Hunter because it's a little more arcadey. Again, it is a lot like Monster Hunter. So if you hate Monster Hunter games, this is not for you. But for me, this is the equivalent of a really good version of Destiny that's melee only. I know you can use the bow and arrow weapon, which actually I was seeing people comment on because I don't use it, that they were saying in Monster Hunter games they stay away from any like bow type of weapons and stuff like that because it's kind of crap. This game is legit like good. It feels good. It works good.
Can you change weapons, or are you locking into a certain weapon?
So each weapon has their own like. So I think you start out, you can choose from like 5. And then you can upgrade whatever one you want. But like the basic upgrade for each one is really like not a lot of materials. So you can kind of play around. And then once you figure out, hey, I like this weapon, then you just start leveling that up. But you can always, because you have, from fighting these beasts over and over, you're going to have extra that you could actually level up multiple.
Yeah, so you can play around. Just so it's like Monster Hunter 2.
Like so for me,
you're rocking different armor, different weapons.
Yeah, I started with the fat sword at first. So you start out with a katana, but I was like, oh, I want to try this fat sword. And I tried it, and I liked it a lot. And then I went back to the katana. I was like, no. You know what? I didn't realize how slow I was with this. The katana, you are a speedster. Like you are literally your actual character. I'm not talking about just attacks. I'm talking about running too. Is slower with the heavier weapons.
So it's like almost like Souls games, where like the more like heavier stuff you have,
the more weight you have, the slower you are.
I will say, Monster Hunter has some pretty in-depth mechanics. Of course, every weapon has its own like stances or modes, or like there's different ways you can kind of shift into a new stance. You take more damage, but you do more damage. All kinds of stuff like that in Monster Hunter and all their weapons. This one with the katana, even on that practice dummy at the beginning, I was trying to learn a few combos before I went to fight that first monster in Wild Hearts. And even there's I forget the word for it, Derek, but there's like a you hold in right trigger and hit either one of the attacks, and you go into like this unlocked or unchained or whatever they call it.
You're talking about when your meter's full.
Yeah, and then you go into that mode, and you can turn it off if you want to save some of that meter if you're done doing whatever combos. But like my katana went into like almost like this sword whip magic-y. Yeah, and it goes into this crazy mode. I was doing all these insane combos, and right away I was like, dude, this looks so cool. And to me, it's not a turn your brain off. Like maybe it is, maybe it's much simpler than I'm making it. But
I'm saying like once you figure it out.
Okay.
And you're just going out and hunting. Like Destiny. Destiny is if I just said to you, Destiny's to turn your brain off, you might agree with me if you haven't played it a lot because you're like, it's just a shooter. But all the systems in Destiny are actually very confusing. But once you learn them, it's literally just turn it off, go shoot things with your friends.
Go run a bunch of.
That's what this game feels like. It feels like once you learn the systems, which are going to take a while. But this game, I just feel like does it better than Monster Hunter. But once you learn all the systems, it is 100% just a fun, like, it's not a game where I'm like, guys, I got to beat this game. I got to see the story play out. It's a game where I'm just like, I'm in the mood to just play with other people and have fun. That's what this game is to me.
Yeah.
really
and the
good.
completion aspect too. Like, hey, I never did beat that monster. I want to go back and try that monster again. Like that.
And all the
that
monsters are so like. I'm in the second area, so there's one. Like, the first area is the one I told you have access to on Game Pass Ultimate, and then I'm in the second area, and I ran. Okay, so they tell you a beast to go fight. Of course, Derek, being alpha male, ignores that. Runs into a different one. I'm like, I'm solo. Let's do this. Let's go. That mother fricker tore me up in like 2 seconds.
So who's the true alpha then?
I mean,
well, at the beginning,
he made me look like a beta for sure.
At the beginning, they do the thing that a lot of games do, which I don't usually like. It's usually fine. I just don't love it when they make you feel super weak because they put you up against a boss that you're supposed to lose to.
Very
and even if you do some damage, like they want you to die. Like you're not.
Yeah.
And I
the first beast is like a freaking spaz at one point.
Yeah.
If you get too much damage in, it starts going and you die. You have to. Like it's part of the story. So.
And then it goes to a cutscene. They're like, oh, okay. But then I still there's something about that feeling I don't like as much. Like
me neither. Because I went into it convinced I was going to be able to beat him somehow, but no, there's no way.
So like I wasn't really frustrated because I was like it's supposed to lose here. But it's
a
little deflating. Honestly,
loses.
The Souls does it better because that you do have a chance. It's just very difficult. But you have the opportunity to.
I don't think. I mean, maybe this one is, but I don't think this is a beatable boss.
Sure.
Ghost of Tsushima. Apparently, that guy's beatable, but then it goes to the same cutscene as when he.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So maybe this one is, but. It's the same cliche thing. Hopefully they'll stop doing that stuff. But the only thing I wanted to add is I thought it was pretty cool because, like, again, a lot of the preview stuff you see for this game, you see building boxes, jumping off that stuff I talked about. But there's a lot of cool weapons you unlock. Like, I was playing with guys who were building hammers. Like, I'm talking big hammers. And those hammers would just fling and they slam down.
I love the mega hammers in Monster Hunter. That's my go-to.
Yeah.
I love
this isn't a weapon. They're building it, so they might be using the katana, but they're building this big hammer that can't move. It's just in a stacked place.
Okay. Like a trapper.
And it's like on a spring, and it just slams down.
Oh, like a trap.
Like whack-a-mole. Like
exactly what it is whack-a-mole.
That's pretty awesome.
It's super fun, all this stuff. It's different stuff you can build. Like right now, I have access to, I can build, and other people do as well when I'm playing co-op. We just build like these little fires. Like they're like basically stands, and then you have a fire. What's cool about that is you don't have to push a button. You just run by it. You'll take your weapon, you'll put it through, so that obviously your weapon lights on fire, but it automatically goes into a swing. So if you set those up by the monster and then run by it, you'll just swing and start a combo into the monster and start lighting them on fire. And then it stays on fire for a little bit, and you just keep using it until it goes out, and then you build another one. So there's just a lot of like fun stuff. I'm telling you, if you learn how to play the game, I'm not saying anybody here is stupid. I'm not being passive aggressive. I'm saying in general, if you learn how to play the game, there's a lot of fun to have in this.
Yeah, if you put in the time, it's
crazy stuff.
It sounds like they're adding all these like little extra accoutrements, like traps, and like you said, like the way that you set your weapon on fire is like this like extra little step, but it just makes it unique. Where it's like you're kind of like having to build the thing.
A creative way to set your sword on fire, as opposed to just having a fire sword.
Each monster has its weakness, so you're not going to use a fire attack against a lava pit monster. So there's
like
different
things behind you.
There's
like that guy.
There's different elements that you can use, stuff that you're going to unlock against certain, and that goes with your gear too. So it's not like you're like, well, I just want to get that gear because it's higher rated. There's some gear that you unlock in the beginning that's better than stuff later on because maybe it's high defense against fire. Whereas you unlock something later that's just high defense in general, and you're going to go fight a fire boss, you want to put the fire stuff on, and same thing with your weapon. Cool. So there's a lot of depth here, a lot of fun here. I haven't even come close to unlocking everything. There is a story. I don't pay attention to it. I'm sure it's great. Don't care.
It's very Monster Hunter-esque. just in terms like there's lots of mythology going on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It also threw me off that they call the monsters kimonos because at first I was like, are we fighting dresses? What is this?
Yeah. You really couldn't land on a different name
Dresses?
The only negative I would have for this game is and I'm including PC with this, it's just not pretty. Like when you first boot it up, I'm like, this is gorgeous. Like the first thing I thought, I was like, this opening area, this is gorgeous. But once you start playing it out in the open area of the game, and you've got three guys fighting together with this big monster and all this stuff, it drops in frames. It's got a lot of like.
Be optimized in the future, though, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope they clean up the optimization, but I don't even think it's just that. I just think there's a lot going on that they drop the frames. Or
that's a shame. The designs look cool. Like that gorilla thing behind you looks sick as hell.
I do recommend if you're playing this on PC, don't use upscaling yet until they patch it and fix it because it made it so like
what a joke.
Washed out. It looked like a water painting, but a bad one. Everything was
Something's
fuzzy.
wrong. Something's wrong. They have
to be wrong. Yeah.
I was like, this is weird. So I turned that off and because you have to reboot you have to kind of reload your save if restart the game if you're gonna turn on and off upscaling. And then I was like, oh, it's much sharper now. It looks better, but it still didn't. Like if you think about Monster Hunter Rise, how that looks on the Switch on a big screen. You're forced to say, "Hey, for a Switch game, ... Yeah, it's fine. It's good. It works, and it's not bad." This to me isn't that much better looking than it is better looking, but it's not. It's not like astronomically better looking than because like the textures are kind of flat.
Yes.
The grass is like every once in a while there's a tuft that's in 3D, but the rest of it's like a flat image on the ground.
Really?
So like it's not the most pretty, like it's not the most like
you
impressive.
Tell the opening area was like, hey, we gotta suck people in. This is our intro like sex scene to get you to watch our show, and then after that they're like, here we go, we're gonna cut some corners so we can keep the frames per second above 30.
Yeah.
So, but overall, like I said, there's
not enough to ruin your enjoyment. It sounds like.
No.
It
sounds like you're still enjoying it. Yeah.
This game's so much fun.
Yeah, cool.
Because graphics were not the problem I was thinking when I'm watching trailers for that game. Like I'm not in a million years am I going like, oh, this is an ugly game.
Right. So. It's just funny because we're like talking about this, and I get a text from Sasan. He's like, this is literally what he said. He's like, we weren't even talking about this game. He's like, bro, why is Wild Hearts so ugly but so rad? So it's like what we're talking about right now. Like it's so ugly. Kinda... Now he's playing on PS5. I'm playing on PC, but I played on Xbox, and I thought.
So he even thinks it's ugly, like on PS5. It's not a PC problem. It's
no. It's just
no. That's a game design issue. For me, the PC thing was more about figuring out the settings. They just need to kind of patch it to make sure the settings are better.
The art style is phenomenal. I just think the package of what they're trying to do. You got to remember this is co-op and all that open, kind of big open areas.
The armor design is great too. Like if you like Monster Hunter art, like armor design, which I think is amazing, and their weapon design is amazing. So this seems to have all of that in place.
I also think the monsters are really cool.
I
really like the third monster. I don't know if you guys got to the third monster, but he's like
I got to the second one. That's as far as I got into it.
All right, the third one is like the one they showed off and like kind of like promoting the game, and that's that big like boar, the crazy looking boar.
Okay.
That is like I would highly recommend if you guys are at all interested in this game, get to that fight. It is going to frustrate you. Obviously, play it co-op. If you try to solo it, I did solo them, but I did it after I had already beat them with other people and had leveled up. But it's just one of the most epic fights because he's relentless, he's huge, and he has you in little areas, and then eventually he leads you to this big open area. It's just a great boss fight, and he's awesome. Like his design is super cool, and what he transforms into, they all transform as well, so that changes the battle and the tactics. It's pretty cool.
Look at EA delivering a good new IP this year. How about that?
And by the way, for those people that don't know, this is made by the guys who made like Tukiden games. So these guys have been doing this. Tukidens are games that were just like Monster Hunter as well. They just weren't as successful.
Oh, those. Okay. Yeah.
So they're not new to this. This isn't like they're just ripping off Monster Hunter. They're like, this is what we do too. We've been doing this for a long time. So
I was actually just going to say there's not a lot of games like Monster Hunter, but I totally forgot about those games.
Yeah. And I just feel like these guys are like, this is their big break with EA. Maybe they got a little bit of EA money, and this is definitely a bigger, better version of what they've they've created before.
These are the Dynasty Warriors guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Yeah, the Dynasty Warriors guys did that. The game that he's talking about, Tugaden, yeah, because I played it.
Are there 2 of those, right?
That was like the Omega Force.
Yeah.
Oh, I see that now. I have to
Force.
scroll all the way down, and I can see it now.
Yeah. Interesting.
They did Persona 5 Strikers, too. I love that game.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, my main man. So I just
got another game you're playing.
I got to push through this. I got to push through this game because immediately, like when you go from a game that has really effective, very immediate responsive combat like Hogwarts Legacy.
Yeah.
And then I go into a game like this that wants you to kind of demonstrate a little more patience with your strikes and more precision. I really just have to push through especially because that first fight, you're not with the big monster, you're not supposed to win.
I mean, my recommendation for you or anybody else is you've got like 70 games right now. Only play this game when you're ready to play it.
Yeah, like Hogwarts Legacy, Ishin, and like, Metroid Prime Remastered.
Too many games, you're not going to have patience.
Yeah, I mean,
if you've got 70 games.
Immediately take priority for me. But I will say also, I will mention that I had the same PC performance issues you guys mentioned. I'm gonna have to play with the settings a lot. That's probably gonna be a lot of my playtime with this game because the lighting and the shading is just awful. It's awful on my PC.
God awful. They
good. It's not just me. All right. No. So like, yeah, I'm gonna have to play with the settings a lot.
I'm like literally playing the game. Like I'm in a boss fight. I'm like, who's turning on and off the lights? Who's turning on and off the lights? Because it's literally going flick, 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 flick.
Jesus.
And Hogwarts even has some of that sometimes when you go from like, obviously when you're outside, then you go inside to this castle or whatever. But this is like everywhere you walk. It's like, what the hell why is there a reflection on a bush?
Literally a kid. It's literally a kid in the corner going like,
who's turning off the light?